Hey, what's up, y'all? It's me, Iceberg here, coming with a review of two Corsair products. So this is a combination review. The Corsair 570 mechanical gaming keyboard and the M65 mouse. A lot to like here, as I have here currently on my setup. This is what would be my usual, my wireless, Logitech keyboard. My wireless Logitech trackball mouse is, tried and trusted throughout years. I pretty much buy Logitech things blindly. I have my current slash previous setup here. The camera that's recording me right now, it's a Logitech 1080p. I have the, and it's the long. It's not the first one that I've had either. I just simply trust the brand. So, anyways, as I've gotten older and my usage of computing has changed. I've always been a power user, but again, like I said, my usage have changed. I've gone into things like, DJing on the computer or multimedia like drawing on the computer where, a bit more precision than what the trackball mouse affords me or just for timing what the Corsair, excuse me, that the Logitech will afford me. I was looking at it like, okay, you know what? Maybe we can step this up a bit. So, in doing my due diligence and looking around at certain um, keyboards like Razors, for example, other manufacturers. I wanted to stick with one that was relatively new, try to get the latest and greatest, and a brand that I could trust. And that right now is Corsair. I've purchased Corsair products in the past, like the case for my computer that I built a few years ago. It's Corsair's. It's done me well. The quality is great. So I was like, okay, let's see if this extends to the keyboard and mouse because this is a pricey investment to have. Given the prices that are given on their websites. So upon doing that, I approached to write a review. I wanted to set up with good vibes and do this review first because this is a very quality product that I'm handling right here. This is top of the line stuff. So I said without my tried and true, my Logitech trackball mouse, my Logitech keyboard done me well. It continues to do me well in certain instances, but for the most part, I have largely moved over to what I'm going to demonstrate now, and that is my Corsair keyboard and mouse. So as you all see right now, the backdrop that I have on the screen is, I can switch between the oh, I clicked it and it shows I'll explain that later, but you can go here and it'll switch between the mouse and keyboard. So let us start with the keyboard first. And one of the cool things that can be done here, you can create macros. I don't have too many macros. I just stick with what Windows has built in. Obviously, Control Alt Delete, Alt Tab, things of that nature. I don't. If I were more into gaming, if it was back in my Counter Strike days, things like that, or Quake days, then yeah, I would perhaps do a bit more with what I have here. But for now, not so much. However, when I you know took this on to start using, like, okay, like, nice, there's a lot of quality things here. Like when I click this, you can see the volume going up and down, things like that. Pretty cool. I was touching, though that doesn't roll because it's a mechanical piece. You'll see that I have my stop, forward, reverse, signs to the right. Won't need to push those yet. But for quality, as I did say in my written review, these are Cherry MX speed keys. These are the fastest mechanical keyboard keys in the world. You hear a tactile click, 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 and you see those are the colors that, as you can look down, you can see that's what my keyboard is doing. One of the cool things about this, and I'll show this as well with the mouse, we can go through the lighting effects. And let me move my camera down just a tad. And we can change some of these. So I kept mine on type lighting ripple. You can do things like spiral, and if you look at, the screen, look at my keyboard right here, it mirrors what's going on. So, there's some cool effects here. Spiral, rainbow wave, do visor, and go back and forth. Uh, More about rain, um, color shift. Like I say, and there are some custom ones, that you can do as well, customizing the colors and, things like that. I would imagine there's something here for everybody to use. That's a good thing, that there are options. So one is cool as the key, press, 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 press. That's a pretty, interesting one to look at. Though I have stuck with, since I purchased this, I looked at this and I just said, okay, that's really cool. And as you type, it'll go through different, variations of colors, so it kind of tricks it out in a sense, but it's a pretty cool thing to have. Performance, if you wanted to disable things like the Alt tab or the Alt F4, and if you want to, have certain things be a certain color, it's of your own prerogative in which to do. And in moving over to the mouse, we have a bit of the same things. We have where if you wanted to create a macro, you can create a macro for every individual button that's here, which is, I like customization, so I can't do anything but applaud this. It also comes with its own brand of lighting effects. Let me actually lift this up. You can kind of see it turning right now, as it's going on the screen. It's purple. Where it's going to go next is more of it's red, so it changes, it keeps up with, well, I would actually say it designates what color it's going to be, but that's on the rainbow setting right here. Color shifting, I would admittedly say that the mouse, as far as lighting options, is not as cool as what we see on the keyboard, but I would still say that, it it does provide a nice visual show in the dark when you compute in the dark. So, so with that, just on the simple merits of the keyboard that we have here and the mouse that we have here, this is a very quality, these are very quality devices. It comes with, nice cords, so you don't really have to worry. It's nice and thick. You might have, flimsy keyboard cords that's going to go into your USB port. So also as well to note, this device, the keyboard specifically, you need to utilize 2 USB cords for this because of the power in which it needs to, to push itself. So that may be a drawback for some, but I would think for many of us, power users, we have a multitude of USB ports on a computer, so it might not be an issue. And the mouse, it's smaller USB cord, but it only uses one, so typical one. I was reluctant in purchasing this because of the lack of Blu-ray, but I've, for the most part, overcome that, because it's not wireless. I'm a huge wireless person here, so to being tethered is like, okay, it needs to come with it, and admittedly so, these devices do. And just some other things that the mouse does offer, as far as options. You can look at, your DPI if you're like really into that with mice. I'm not. So like this is not beyond my comprehension. I understand what I'm seeing. I just don't particularly care, at this point in time. So, just be honest there. Performance, if you want to, how precise you want your pointer to be, pointer speed. I've always been one. I've never really liked fast pointer speeds, though you can, it's up to everybody's choosing. And then you have your surface calibration. If you wanted to, calibrate certain things, and it's kind of funny looking at at a speed odometer and things like that. We can actually go through this right quick, but I'll just show you, circling around, doing the surface calibration, and there we go. I mean, pretty much the same as before. I'm not. It's like I said, it's very, very precise. So, like I was saying earlier, if I were in my Counter Strike or my Quake days, or what are the land games were there at the time? Maybe Tribes. I I I feel like I was at the head of the pack, at least with my gear that here. So all in all, if you have the stomach to pay for a keyboard and mouse, I don't know how too many people, obviously not funds and things like that, understandable. But if you are in the market for a new devices of this kind, I really can't recommend anything better. If money is not an expense, I really can't recommend anything better. This is, like I said, this is great. The sturdiness. This isn't flimsy stuff right here. Um, it's nice. It has a nice aluminum finish. Kind of smoked aluminum finish on the top. Um, it for everything that I ultimately needed to do. And I'm pretty sure if I wanted to do some, custom bindings, things like that, it'll do more. When I come to typing, like I'm gonna just mess around with it for a minute, but um, let's say I just wanted to like create a profile, for example. Those are my actions. I'm just gonna type something here, so um, it it's quality things here. I'm just typing iceberg over and over and over again, obviously. But then you see how my setup is. You see everything dance and blah blah blah. But again, like I said, you really don't get any better with this. If money is not your main concern, if you're just searching for quality, this is where you're gonna go. So that being said, iceberg. I hope you listen to it. Signing off.